That means I can't pick my nose.
Okay, so here we are, and I wanted to go this week through the history of the Samaritans, which is from their perspective, which is probably not our perspective, but it's probably worth knowing before we proceed on to go to see why Chazal then puzzled them at some point in history. Okay, so this is actually from a Kuttite website. Second.
Yeah, I was looking at it. The history is considerably different than the way we've learned it.
Right. So let's go back to the beginning here. Okay. And this is from the website of the Israelite Samaritans. IsraeliteSamaritans.com. Okay. Slash history. Okay, so let's begin from the beginning. Our chronicles describe the history of the people of Israel from the time of Joshua onwards. Already, this is discrepancy with what we know in Tanakh, because we believe that the Kuttite history only begins at the end of the period of Bias Rishon, right?
Right.
They describe the time of separate kingdoms of Israel and Judea, also destruction by the Syrians and Babylonians. They also describe Persian, Greek, pagan, Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, Crusader, Mamluk, Ottoman, and British rule. They describe the time of the establishment of the state of Israel to the present day. In the land of Joshua. So if you believe, as the Samaritans seem to believe, that they are the authentic Jews, then they have to begin with the Yetzias Mitzrayim and entering the land of Israel. So it says here, after people of Israel enter the sacred land of Israel, Joshua put the temple of Moses, contained the tent of the covenant, on the summit of Mount Gerizim, near the altar of the Almighty. We have no record of this. It doesn't say put the tent of covenant on top of Har Gerizim. It says that the brachos were given on the top of Har Gerizim and the clothes on the top of Har Evel. If anything, the Mishkan was likely in the valley in between. Sorry?
Yeah, in the valley in between, right?
Right, because the Kohanim and Levim were in between, and the Shvatim were on top of, as designated in the Torah, were on top of each of the mountains. Okay, but there it says, thus he fulfilled the commandment in Deuteronomy 30 and 27, 4:15. To the best of my knowledge, nothing there says putting the Mishkan there. It says, unless you know the word bracha in some convoluted way, means the Mishkan. At this time, the tribes of Israel performed the same blessing and cursing on Mount Gerizim and Mount Evel. It is true that the Jewish text of the Deuteronomy 27:4 mentions Mount Evel and not Mount Gerizim, as in the Israelite Samaritan text. But many scholars believe the Jewish text to be biased against the Samaritans. So they actually evidently believe that their Torah is accurate and our Torah has been manipulated. So at all the, what is Deuteronomy 27:4? We should actually look that up. So we're going to quote the pasuk. It says, and we have crossed the Jordan and set up these stones on Mount Eval, as I commanded they, and coat them with plaster. So that's interesting because they are learning this pasuk to mean to set up not the stones of the 12 stones which we have associated with Har Eval, which are 12 stones which the Torah was written, but rather as the Mishkan. And that was made of stone when they entered Eretz Yisrael, no longer was the wooden beams with covered gold, which we believe it was, until at least they came to Shiloh, but it was rather the made of stone already when they went to Har Gerizim, even though in our Torah it says Har Evel, they believe that it actually said Har Gerizim. We Jews distorted it. Okay. So it's very difficult to say this because the Avonim doesn't really mean a Mishkan. But that's how they're learning it. Okay? Right?
Right.
So far, so bad, so to speak.
So far, so good, yeah.
Okay. So back to the text. All the people Worship, worship on Mount Gerizim and made offerings at the temple of Moses until 260 years after the people of Israel entered the land of Israel. To the best of our knowledge, nowhere in Sefer Shoftim does they say they made the sacrifices on Har Gerizim. None of the Shoftim seem to have been located on Har Gerizim. So therefore, it's very difficult from our perspective to sustain any such assertion. Skithim. Then a dispute occurred within the temple priesthood. Eli, the priest, descendant of Itamar ben Aaron, rebelled against the high priest Uzi ben Buki. I don't think we have any Uzi ben Buki in our history. The son of Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron. The latter was the legitimate high priest according to the Torah commandment. I don't know what the Torah commandment is in the Numbers 25, 11, 13. Let's look that up. Okay. So it's an interesting interpretation of this pasuk. The pasuk says that Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron, the Kohen, has turned my anger away from the children of Israel by zealously avenging me among them, so I did not destroy the children of Israel because of my zeal. Therefore I hereby give him my covenant to priests, shall be for him and for his descendants after him as the eternal covenant of Kehuna, because he was zealous for his God and done for the children of Israel. So our understanding of that, as we know, is that Pinchas is not a Kohen until now. He became a Kohen. But now, the way the Samaritans interpret this pasuk, they mean it to say that Pinchas must be Kohen Gadol, and therefore his progeny must be Kohanim Gedolim until the end of generations. Right?
Okay.
Eli was forced to leave Mount Gerizim, and whether the supporters to Shiloh, okay, which according to these fellows was not anything till then, even though Eli was one of the Shoftim. Obviously, this means, which I did not know, that the Shomonim reject the Tanakh, the Navi, in its entirety. Essentially.
Right. They say that either here or in other parts of their website. I was poking around. The only thing they accept are the Chamisha Chumshei Torah.
Okay. Uzi, fearing a religious rift among the people of Israel, then hid the temple of Moses in one of the caves on Mount Gerizim. So I'm not sure how Uzi hid a building made of stones in one of the caves in Mount Gerizim, but the temple remains there undiscovered to this day. That's interesting. Later, Josephus Flavius indirectly confirmed this tradition in his history book, History Antiquity of the Jews, book 18. I have not looked for it there. I'm highly skeptical that Josephus, who was a full Jew, who believed the Beis Hamikdash was the proper Beis Hamikdash, would have such a confirmation. But
Josephus was a Kohen, was he not?
Yes, he was. Okay, so, but in any event, it seems here that the Samaritans told that in a quest for unity, they submitted and submerged themselves in Eli's favor.
Okay.
Eli then made a new tent of covenant with new ritual utensils in Shiloh. David later brought this tent to Jerusalem. However, the tribe of Joseph would not submit to the rule of David and Solomon. They rebelled against David the first opportunity when Solomon died. Subsequently, the tribe of Joseph led the northern tribes to form the large kingdom of Israel. Relations between the kingdom of Israel and Judah were uneasy. So it doesn't see here.
Right.
What?
Well, that part of it's right.
Well, but it doesn't say here the Samaritan, who the Samaritans identified with. You would think that they identified with Yosef, but it's not clear here. Okay.
That's true. They're not saying who they identify with. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. 722 is Syrian occupation. This is obviously according to the secular assumption that there are 165 additional years in the Jewish calendar, which we don't have. In 722, the Assyrians occupied the kingdom of Israel and exiled the elite of the population to Assyria, Mother, and Babylon. The Assyrians also brought skilled foreign administrators to Samaria to supervise taxation of the Israelites and transfer revenue to Assyrian coffers. The foreign minority lived among the Israelite majority in administrative cities, including Shomron, Shiloh, and Gezer. Some of the foreigners subsequently integrated with the Israelite population. Others returned home when the Assyrian Empire weakened. So according to this interpretation, only the elite of the population were exiled to Assyria, mother in Babylon. The Hamon Am, the masses of the Samaritans remained intact, in place, in direct continuity from Yehoshua.
Okay.
Surveys made in 1968, 1980, 81 discovered Israelite settlements which continued to develop after the Assyrian occupation. 586 BCE, Babylonian invasion. 586 BCE, history brought a further misfortune. Babylon destroyed the kingdom of Judah and exiled most of the southern Israelites to Babylon. Others fled to Egypt, and only a few remained. In year 538 BC, Persia occupied territories in the Middle East and permitted the Israelites to return to their homeland. Not all returned. Some remained in Babylon for another 100 years and later came with Ezra to Jerusalem. At the time, Israelite leaders in the Persian colony of Samaria, Judah, attempted to coexist peacefully with the exiles returning from Babylon. Besides, he made efforts to allow marriages between their priestly families. And between 428 and 424 BCE, the faction of Ezra and Nehemiah blocked Rapproch Mont. Okay, so we're the wicked guys. We blocked the Samaritans. Not that the Samaritans tried to block us from ruling the Beis HaMikdash.
Well, that was, again, the pashtus in the text that we read. You know, if you read a simple reading of the text, it sort of looks like that. But
well, I don't think so. Simply the text is that they sent a message to Persia saying we were attempting to rebel.
there was also text where it says, hey, let's just get together. And then we said, no, Olachem Lanu.
Okay.
So there's contradictory texts, but there's at least one text that could be read in
Yeah, but I think that at that point it included not just the Samaritans, it was a rejection of a general group of non-Jews. It could be I'm remembering mistakenly.
Right. No, again, I don't buy their side. I'm just saying that
how there's, I got it. Okay, for the first and second time period, each took on a separate national identity. Jews as descendants of the kingdom of Judah, and Samaritans as descendants of the kingdom of Samaria. Now, we don't have a version of history in which the Samaritans are an independent power base in the land of Israel. There are many of them, and there obviously was interaction between us and them. But it's not clear that they had their own power base in the north, at least after the Persian period ended.
Mm-hmm.
They do so to this day. Later in the second time period, after the separation of people of Israel to Samaritans and Jews, latter added a further 19 books to the original 5 books of Moses to produce their version of the Bible. The Israelite Samaritans remained loyal to the Pentateuch and consecrated only the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, written in the ancient Hebrew script, still used by Israelite Samaritans today. After the 1st century CE, in order to emphasize between themselves and the Samaritans, the Jews supplanted the ancient Hebrew script with Aramaic script. So, of course, we know that we did do that, but the finish with this history is that we did it in order to separate ourselves from the Samaritans.
I'm sorry, say again?
We do know that Aramaic script supplanted, at least according to some things in Gemara, ancient Hebrew script, and that. But we assume that that's the case because there was some sort of nevuah to switch to Aramaic, whereas according to the Samaritans, it was a deliberate attempt to tamper with the annals of history.
Okay.
Persecution resurgence. In the 4th and 5th century CE, the Israelite Samaritans numbered around 1,500,000. Okay, so according to this, the second Korban, of course, did not affect them at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dwelling in several cities and villages in the Holy Land from southern Syria to northern Egypt. But due to cruel religious decrees, forced conversions to Islam and Christianity, slaughter and persecution of the population diminished. By March 1919, there were scarcely 141 individuals living in Nablus and Jaffa. In 1930s, during the British Mandate, the situation improved. Numbers began to increase, and there has been a steady improvement in all areas of life. Today, this most ancient community has one of the lowest average ages in the world. Seems to indicate that they are very successful in reestablishing themselves. The Israelite Samaritan community numbers around 760 souls, all resident in the Holy Land. Around 400 live in Israel, 360 in Mount Gerizim, Samaria, under Israel's civil administration and Palestinian Authority administration. 4 households. The high priest is at the head of the Israelite Samaritan community. He is also the head of the Ha'atai priestly clan, descendants of Aaron's brother Moses through his son Itamar. Well, that's kind of strange because what happened to Pinchas, right? I thought the whole issue was that Pinchas was supposed to be the Kohen and not Itamar. So if I recall correctly, they say that line has been lost. No longer is extant, the line through Pinchas. And that's why they have no choice but to go through Itamar. The 3 other Samaritan clans date back to the sons of Joseph. The Tzedakah Hatzvari from the tribe of Menashe, and the Danfi, Altif, and Hasaratari of Sassoni, and the Marchivi and Yoshua from the tribes of Ephraim. It's the Ark Samaritan households. Samaritan centers to history, Samaritan life. So it's not like Karaites. Karaites flourished throughout the diaspora. Karaites basically lived wherever Jews lived for a long time, and they were a direct rival. Samaritans never left the area where they are. Samaritan life is concentrated in 2 centers. Around 360 live in the Kiryat Luza neighborhood of Mount Gerizim, Samaria, above the ancient city of Nablus. Mount Gerizim is our holy of holy, our traditional place of worship. Jerusalem was never sacred to us. Approximately 400 Israelite Samaritans live in the Samaritan neighborhood established in 1954-55 in Cholon, a suburb of Tel Aviv. The community is grateful for the efforts of its late leader, Yefet ben Avram Tzedakah Hatzafari, a blessed memory and the great assistance of the 2nd president of the state of Israel, the late Yitzchak ben Tzvi, a blessed memory, as well as the mayors of Cholon, late Chaim Kugel, and late Pinchas Elon, a blessed memory, who allotted the land for the neighborhood and helped to obtain necessary financial assistance. So here we have a picture of the funeral of Abraham Tzedakah, which I guess is the father of Yefet. And I guess they have their own, it's not clear if they have their own base of course, because the kever next to it at least has the name written in modern Hebrew. Yeah. Okay, integrated communities, because communities are totally integrated with the lifestyles of their neighbors. And the 2 Israelite Samaritan groups are closely linked. The Cholonka, which means the Israeli Samaritans are Israeli and the Arab Samaritans are Arabs. But the Cholon community also has homes on Mount Gerizim. Samaritans celebrate major festivals together. Most famous being Pesach, when we sacrifice the Paschal lamb and perform the ceremonies passed down through the generations. Politics. The peace process between the government of Israel and the Palestinian Authority has split the community in administrative terms since the end of 1995. Public affairs, particularly the desire to improve the quality of life of those centers, are conducted by committees in Cholon for set periods and Kiryat Luza in accordance with the instructions of the high priest. I'm not sure exactly what that means. The community has been blessed with an increase in numbers in the last generation, requiring expansion of the residential areas of the 2 centers and possibly the planning of a 3rd center in the near future. Kiryat Luza sees intense activity. Accelerated construction is expanding neighborhood responsibility to the younger generation. Israelite Samaritans have established an international peace center on Mount Gerizim for peace seekers from all over the world to meet in political groups. In political, social, or religious disputes, particularly Palestinians and Israelis. Senior officials on both sides have welcomed the initiative. The Israelite Samaritans are not officially involved in the politics of the region. By emphasizing their ancient heritage and the youth status in the modern world, they wish to be a bridge. Kesher l'shalom. Literally a bridge for peace between the parties in conflict in the Middle East. But the result in modest contribution may help bring peace. Their neutral position and their friendship with all parties enables them to be the only group that enjoys the respect of all sides in the region. Okay, I didn't know they enjoy the respect of all sides, but they basically put themselves into that position, or at least according to their assumption, which may or may not be true. Cultural education, culture flourishes in the Samaritan community. There are cultural activities as well as summer day camps and exhibitions. In addition, community centers operate primarily in the spring and summer, offering courses and enrichment classes. There are also afternoon classes teaching the Samaritan tradition from Sundays to Thursdays. 1969, the brothers Benjamin and Yefet Ben Ratzon Tzedakah established the AB.
Yeah, it's named after Avram Tzedakah.
I got it. AB, the Samaritan News. This is the first Samaritan. This is the first Samaritan newspaper published on a bi-weekly basis in 4 languages, all appearing in the same edition: Ancient Samaritan Hebrew, Modern Hebrew, Arabic, and English. Subsequently, in 1981, the editors of AB established AB Institute of Samaritan Studies, named after Yefet Ben Avram Tzedakah, the former head of the Samaritan community in Israel. The institute serves as a focal point for scholars and university students. They receive instruction and guidance at the institute for the research they conduct in Samaritan studies. In addition, 3 charities and Kiryat Lusa help to distribute information about the Samaritans to guests and Arab neighbors. The winter months see extensive activity in the community, copying and preparing the Torah and prayer books for publication. We publish some of them in limited editions. Mount Gerizim, an interesting museum run by its owner, priest Yefet Ben Asher, displays items of the Samaritan heritage alongside ancient finds from Mount Gerizim, in coins, lamps, and inscriptions. The committee plans the International Peace Center in Mount Gerizim, along with the largest museum, display artifacts from our region. The young people. The committee makes serious effort to encourage younger generation to become involved in Samaritan affairs. Cologne operates 1 basketball team playing in the Israel Basketball Association. Okay, I don't know that. I assume not all the players are Samaritans. Kiryat Lusa reestablished youth club in 1982 with around 100 members. The club organizes youth sports activities as well as a basketball team and hiking trips. The club holds courses on Samaritan heritage in the autumn and winter months. Briefly, this is the ancient history of the people of Israel. The Israelite Samaritans believe, as Torah says, at the end of days, a prophet like Moses, a descendant of Joseph. I know where the Torah says this, anything of the sort, will reappear and reveal the original temple of Moses. And the peace and the original Israelite tradition will grace the world. Okay, so we see that the Samaritans themselves do not regard themselves as Ovdei Avodah Zarah. They don't have the story about the bird in their Kodesh Kodashim.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore they see us as usurpers and fakers. Now, it happens to be that the Samaritans not allow intermarriage until relatively recently. They basically allowed it because they have no choice. Otherwise, it would have disintegrated. So therefore, it's only recently. What?
So intermarriage with Jews or with Arabs or with anybody?
Anybody. Yeah, anybody.
Okay.
And then they have a significant number of Russian brides.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we don't care if they're Jewish. They don't care if they're Jewish or not. But be that as if take Torah Shebiksav at face value, it's not clear what exactly you need to become Jewish or how you lose Judaism. So it all is subject to the whim of the generations, right?
It doesn't say anything about it. How do they paskin halacha? What do they do? It doesn't
give us any clue, right?
What?
No, nothing. But at least we have an understanding of where they think they came from. Okay, so we're gonna have to see why we think otherwise. But in the meantime, the Kuttim believe that they have authentic Kohanim, at least to try to be someone, and that they're the authentic Jews, and that everybody else is a faker.
Well, so do the Christians,
Yeah, but the Christians thought there was some point in history which it was us, and then it stopped being us.
Right.
There's no such point in history.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we'll stop here for today. And tomorrow, next week, we will continue on to a more intense discussion of our sources.
All right. Shkoyach.
Okay, Baruch Tia.
Bye.